When Daniel heard his wife whisper another man's name in her sleep, he thought it was just a dream. But that one word, Ethan, sent him down a rabbit hole of betrayal, lies, and an unexpected alliance with the very man who was stealing his wife. What began as heartbreak turned into a strategic takedown no one saw coming. I stood in the kitchen, hands gripping the counter, the burnt toast long forgotten. Across from me, Emily wouldn't meet my eyes. "You're overreacting, Daniel," she said, voice tight, eyes darting. My chest burned. "You called me Ethan," I said. "In your sleep, at 3 a.m., whispered like it meant something." Her mouth opened, closed. It was nothing, just a dream, a slip. "A slip," I echoed. "You said his name like a secret, like someone you missed." 10 years of marriage, and I was being gaslighted by the woman I once thought couldn't lie. Her back stayed turned, her hands trembling as she reached for the dishes. I wanted to believe her, wanted to rewind to the years when I knew every corner of her smile and every reason behind it. But something had shifted, something fundamental. "If it's nothing," I asked, softer now, "why can't you just tell me who Ethan is?" She didn't answer, just stared at the sink like it could wash away the question. Finally, she snapped, "You're suffocating me, Daniel. Always watching, always doubting. Maybe I said the wrong name because I'm tired. Maybe I'm tired of you." That one hit like a punch to the chest. I stepped back, stunned. This wasn't just about a name anymore. That night, I slept on the couch. Not because I was angry, but because I didn't know who I was sleeping next to anymore. Emily had left our bed cold, and our apartment, once filled with warmth and late-night laughter, now felt like a museum of a life that had ended without warning. My name is Daniel Harper. I'm 38, a graphic designer in Chicago. I spend most days smoothing out the chaos of other people's visions. But my own life? Lately, it's anything but clean. Emily and I met in college. She was the quiet girl who studied at the library until midnight. I was the loud, broke art major who thought I could make a name for myself one day. We built a life together, a small apartment in West Loop, a rhythm that felt like ours. It wasn't glamorous, but it was good, solid. At least that's what I thought. Lately, everything had started to erode. She was working late more often, started turning her phone face down, grew vague when I asked simple questions. And then, Ethan's name came out of her mouth like a ghost with a key to my house. The next morning, she left early for work. No eye contact, no apology. Just a note. Meeting ran late. Don't wait up. Cold. Mechanical. Not the woman who used to kiss my forehead when I pulled all-nighters. I sat alone, staring at the spot where she usually placed her coffee mug. The silence was brutal. I wasn't going to sit here and rot in suspicion. I needed answers. I started watching more closely. Her patterns, her tone, her phone, always within arm's reach, always locked. When I tried to initiate a real conversation, she shut down, claimed she was tired, claimed I was imagining things. But I wasn't imagining the distance between us. I wasn't imagining how she recoiled when I touched her hand. I wasn't imagining Ethan. I thought about following her, checking her phone. But I wasn't ready to become that guy, the paranoid husband digging through text threads. Not yet. Still, I couldn't stop myself from wondering, who was Ethan? A coworker? A fling from the past? Someone she met recently? Each night I lay on the couch, the city humming through the windows. I scrolled through memories in my head like photos in an old album, looking for signs I might have missed. There were plenty, moments I'd brushed off, her sudden interest in networking events, the new perfume, the second phone charger she kept in her purse. The weight in my chest grew heavier. I tried to distract myself with work, but my sketches turned messy, unfinished, just like the conversations we were no longer having. Finally, I suggested therapy. She resisted at first, said I was overreacting again. But after another silence-heavy dinner, she agreed. We met with Dr. Clara Vance, a calm, deliberate psychologist in Lincoln Park. Emily sat stiff beside me, barely saying a word. When I told the story, the 3 a.m. whisper, the name, the avoidance, Dr. Vance nodded, asked thoughtful questions. Emily's defense was simple. It was meaningless. just a dream. But even as she said it, her voice wavered. Dr. Vance asked us to define trust. I said it was the base of everything. Emily's reply? Trust is hard when someone's always waiting for you to mess up. The words echoed in my head for days. Was she blaming me or trying to confess without confessing? Later that week, she left her phone unattended for the first time in weeks. Unlocked, sitting on the coffee table while she showered. I stared at it like it was a live wire. My heart pounded. If I looked, there would be no going back. I didn't pick it up. Not then, not because I trusted her, but because I didn't trust myself. But that night, as I lay awake listening to the train rumble past our apartment, I made a silent vow. If she wouldn't tell me the truth, I'd find it myself, even if it broke me. After that night, things didn't go back to normal, because there was no normal left. Emily moved through our apartment like a guest, barely speaking unless it was about errands or scheduling. I stopped asking questions she wouldn't answer, but I never stopped watching. She left earlier for work, came home later. Her excuses were flimsy, meetings that ran long, traffic that made no sense based on her route. Her phone, once casually tossed on the kitchen table, was now glued to her hand. When it buzzed, she glanced at it like a reflex. Quick, guilty. The space between us widened. I couldn't touch her without feeling the flinch. I couldn't look at her without wondering if she was thinking of him. Ethan. His name lodged in my brain like a splinter. I didn't know his face, but I imagined it constantly. Was he taller? Funnier? The kind of guy who sent clever texts and brought her coffee with extra whipped cream? My confidence eroded every day. I poured myself into work, but nothing stuck. A new brewery client wanted a bold rebrand, and I couldn't deliver. My sketches were sloppy, my focus shot. Every time I opened my notebook, my brain served me images of Emily on her phone, laughing at someone else's joke. The tipping point came on a Wednesday. Emily came home buzzing with false energy, her smile too wide. "We landed a big client today," she said, tossing her bag aside. I nodded. "Congratulations." She poured herself a glass of wine, offered nothing more. No detail about the client, the pitch, or who helped her close it. Just another wall. I finally said it. "Are you seeing someone else?" She froze for a second. "Just one." Then she rolled her eyes. "Daniel, seriously? You called me Ethan. You come home late, won't look me in the eye. What am I supposed to think?" She didn't answer. Instead, she said, "I'm tired of this interrogation." That was the end of the conversation. She went to bed. I stayed on the couch. Again. 2 days later, I suggested therapy a second time. She agreed, but only to shut me up. We met Dr. Vance again. Emily barely contributed. I spoke about distance, mistrust, fear. She talked about pressure, scrutiny, and how everything felt like a test she was failing. Dr. Vance gave us exercises. Make time for one another. Be honest. Check in. Emily didn't try. Not once. Every effort came from me. Then one night it happened. She forgot to lock her phone. It buzzed while she was in the shower. I hesitated for 5 seconds. Maybe less. I picked it up. Her messages were a minefield. Dozens of texts from a contact saved simply as E. I opened the thread. "Miss you. Can't wait to see you. Last night was perfect." My stomach dropped. Then a photo. Her head resting on a man's shoulder, both of them laughing. He was dark-haired, smirking at the camera. Her smile wasn't the fake one she gave me these days. It was real. The same one she used to flash when we'd walk around the city on lazy Sundays. There was also a pinned address in Wicker Park. 427 North Ashland Avenue. My hands were shaking. I wanted to confront her right then and there, but I couldn't. Not like this. I needed to be sure. I needed to see him. The next morning I called in sick, sat in my car for hours. My plan was simple. Go to the address, knock on the door, and see the man she'd traded our marriage for. But then my phone buzzed. An unknown number. "We need to talk about Emily." I stared at it. Who was this? Ethan? Someone else? I replied, "Who is this?" No answer. My gut told me to back off, but the desperation in me wouldn't let go. I drove back home, parked, and stared at the screen. A few hours passed. The silence was brutal. At noon, I started pacing. Should I go to the address? Should I respond again? That's when the knock came. It was sharp, deliberate. I opened the door. A man stood there, tall, dark-haired, too familiar. "I'm Ethan Cole," he said calmly. "We need to talk about your wife." I didn't speak, just stepped aside and let him in. He wasn't what I expected. No arrogance, no smirk, just tired eyes and a clenched jaw. "I didn't know she was married," he said. "Not until last week." My heart pounded. "Then why are you here?" He pulled out his phone, showed me a string of messages, from Emily to someone named Marcus. She'd been playing him too, using Ethan's money to buy gifts and plan a future with another man. Marcus. She told me she was leaving someone, said he was controlling, said she just needed help getting free. His eyes met mine. She lied to both of us. The anger I'd carried for weeks twisted into something new, something sharper. This man wasn't the enemy. He was collateral damage, just like me. "I thought I was the only one," I said. Ethan shook his head. "So did I." We sat in silence, two strangers in the wreckage of the same lie. Finally, he said, "We can confront her, or we can make her feel what we felt." I looked at him. "What do you mean?" "We make her panic, make her think the walls are closing in. You know her schedule. I've got the resources." He laid out a plan, a fake text, a public setup, a moment where she wouldn't see it coming. At first I rejected it. It felt low, cruel. But the truth was, I wanted her to feel the betrayal, the uncertainty, the weight. I wanted to watch her crack. I agreed, Ethan nodded. "We'll make sure she never plays someone like this again." The plan wasn't complicated, but it had to be precise. Ethan would send a fake message to Emily from a burner phone, posing as Marcus. Something vague but threatening, enough to make her panic. My job was to get her to a specific cafe on Halsted Street at exactly 2 p.m., a place she used to love. We'd sit together. Ethan would watch from nearby. When her phone buzzed, we'd see how she reacted. It felt theatrical, deceptive, but after weeks of being lied to, it also felt like justice. Convincing her to meet me wasn't easy. She barely spoke to me anymore. "Just an hour," I said that night. "Coffee, like old times." She hesitated. Her eyes flicked toward her phone, as if waiting for a better offer. Then she sighed. "Fine." The next day we drove in silence. She stared out the window the entire time, drumming her fingers on her knee. We arrived a few minutes early. She chose the booth near the back without a word. I watched her closely. She was distant, detached, but there was a nervous energy beneath it, like she already sensed something was wrong. We placed our orders. I tried to make small talk. She gave short answers, eyes flicking to the door every so often. I wasn't sure if she was waiting for Marcus or hoping Ethan would show up. Then her phone buzzed. She grabbed it instantly. Her smile dropped. I watched her scan the screen. Her fingers froze. She tucked the phone away quickly, but her hands were shaking. "Everything okay?" I asked. She forced a nod. "Just work." Her voice was too casual, too flat. I glanced toward the front of the cafe. Ethan sat 2 tables away, hat low over his face, watching her every move. We waited. 10 minutes passed. Her phone buzzed again. She read it fast, her face going pale. This time she didn't hide the reaction. Her legs started bouncing under the table. She clutched her bag tighter. "I need to go," she said suddenly, standing up. "Go where?" "I forgot. Something at the office." She didn't even try to make it sound believable. I stood with her. "Let me come with you." She shook her head. "No." And just like that, she rushed out. Ethan followed first. I paid the bill and trailed behind. On the sidewalk, we spotted her moving fast, head down, weaving through pedestrians. Ethan fell in beside me. "She's heading to Ashland," he said. "Same address." That was the place I'd found in her texts, the one from the photos. Marcus's place. We followed from a distance. She reached the building, looked around nervously, then stepped inside. Ethan and I stopped across the street, hidden behind a parked SUV. "She's going up," Ethan said. "Now what?" I hesitated. "We wait. See who she calls." See if she slips. Minutes passed. Then through the front glass, we saw her exit the elevator and walk into the loft unit. She was pacing, talking on the phone. She's calling him, I said. A few more minutes passed, then Ethan's burner buzzed. He showed me the screen. I'm here. We need to talk. Where are you? We looked at each other. She thought she was messaging Marcus. She's ready to run, Ethan said. Bags probably already packed. I couldn't wait anymore. I'm going in. Daniel, we agreed. No more waiting. We crossed the street, entered the building, took the elevator to the 4th floor. I knocked hard. Emily opened the door. Her eyes went wide. What are you doing here? She asked. I stepped in before she could stop me. Ethan followed. The loft was sleek and modern, but I didn't care. My eyes locked on the suitcase by the couch, half zipped, full of clothes. You're leaving? I asked. She didn't answer. Ethan stepped forward. You lied to me, he said. To both of us. Emily's expression twisted into something I hadn't seen before. Not guilt, not shame, defiance. You think you figured everything out? She snapped. I think we figured out enough, I replied. Ethan pulled out his phone. You used me, took my money, said you were starting a new life. Emily scoffed. You offered, I didn't ask. And Marcus, I asked, was he part of the plan the whole time? She looked at me then, like she was finally seeing me. Marcus was freedom, she said coldly. From this, from you. My chest clenched. I felt Ethan tense beside me. Was any of it real? I asked, my voice lower now. She didn't answer, just grabbed the suitcase and moved toward the door. Ethan blocked her. You're not going anywhere. That's when the knock came. All three of us froze. Emily looked like she'd seen a ghost. I opened the door. A man stood there, tall, lean, confident. Emily, he said, you didn't tell me we'd have company. Marcus. He stepped inside without waiting for an invitation. You're the husband, he said, looking at me. Nice to meet you. Emily was shaking now. Marcus, this isn't... He cut her off. You played me too. Said you needed help. Said you were done with your marriage. I didn't know you were draining Ethan's money. My head spun. She hadn't just betrayed me. She hadn't just lied to Ethan. She'd manipulated all of us. Used Ethan for money. Used Marcus for escape. Used me as cover. Ethan's jaw tightened. You and I, he said to Marcus, we're on the same page now. Marcus nodded. I'm done being her backup plan. Emily looked at all three of us, cornered for the first time. I wasn't sure what hurt more, her betrayal, or realizing that the woman I loved had been a lie for longer than I'd known, but I was done being part of it. Emily stood in the middle of the room, boxed in. 3 men, 3 sets of eyes that once saw her differently, now aligned in betrayal. You don't understand, she said, her voice shaky but still trying to sound in control. It's not what it looks like. No, I said. It's exactly what it looks like. You used Ethan. You lied to Marcus, and you tried to keep me around like a safety net. Her eyes flicked to Marcus, then Ethan. I didn't mean for it to go this far. You meant for it to go just far enough, Ethan replied coldly. Just far enough to get your new life paid for. Emily's shoulders tightened. You think I planned this? You coordinated it, I said. You played every side, lied to each of us. The only part you didn't plan was getting caught. She stepped back toward the suitcase. Marcus moved in front of it, blocking her. You're not running, he said. Her expression changed. The fear cracked through the mask, but only for a moment. Then it was back to calculation. What do you want from me? You want me to say I'm sorry? She said. Fine. I'm sorry. No, Ethan said. We want accountability. She crossed her arms, but her hands trembled. You took my money, Ethan continued. Thousands. Told me you needed it for bills, your car, your job. But it went to Marcus, vacations, that loft. Emily looked at Marcus. You knew I didn't have money. I didn't know it was someone else's. Ethan pulled out his phone. You're going to pay it back, all of it. She laughed, a dry, bitter sound. I don't have that kind of money. Then figure it out, he said. Because if you don't, we go public. Your job, your friends, your family, everyone will know how many lives you ruined to build your fantasy. Her face paled. I'll get the money, she muttered. Just give me time. You have 30 days, Ethan said. After that, we go nuclear. And what about me? I asked. I spent a decade with you, built a life with you. Do I just walk away with nothing but memories I can't trust? Emily met my eyes. I loved you, she said quietly. You stopped acting like it a long time ago. She dropped her gaze. I don't want your apology, I added. I want closure. I want to know why. She hesitated, then said, because I felt stuck. I didn't know how to leave without being the villain. You became the villain the moment you lied. She didn't argue, just stood there deflated. I turned to Marcus. You still want to be part of this? He shook his head. Not anymore. She sold me a dream and forgot to mention it was someone else's. He looked at Emily once more. We're done. Then he left. No dramatic exit. No final words. Ethan lingered a moment longer. You owe me. Don't forget that. Emily nodded stiffly. When the door closed behind him, it was just the two of us again, like it had been before everything broke. But now there was no pretending. You should go, she said. I looked around the loft. No, you're the one who's leaving. She blinked. What? You're not starting over here. Not on stolen money, not in a lie. If you want to rebuild, do it honestly. I have nowhere else to go. That's not my problem anymore. She didn't fight. She just picked up her bag, zipped it shut, and walked out. I didn't feel triumphant, just empty. I stayed there for a while staring at the suitcaseless corner, the quiet apartment, and the wreckage of the woman I thought I knew. I hadn't just lost a partner, I'd lost the version of myself that believed in her. When I finally left the loft, I found Ethan waiting by the curb. She gone? He asked. Yeah. Good. We walked to a bar down the street. Neither of us said much at first, just sat at the counter and drank. Eventually, Ethan spoke. You think she'll actually pay me back? No, I said, but at least she knows we won't just take it. He nodded. You going to be okay? I thought about it, then nodded too. I think I already am. In the weeks after everything unraveled, life didn't return to normal. It couldn't, but it did settle. Emily moved out of the loft. She sent a few payments to Ethan, small, partial repayments, but they were more about guilt than real effort. He didn't expect to recover the full amount, but it wasn't about the money anymore. It was about making sure she didn't walk away clean. I filed for divorce. There was no drawn-out fight, no courtroom drama. She didn't contest it. She barely responded. Her silence was confirmation of what I already knew. She had nothing left to say. The papers were signed, and with that, 10 years of marriage ended in 2 envelopes and a signature. I kept the apartment. I thought it would feel haunted, but it didn't. It was quiet in a way that felt honest. For the first time in months, I could breathe. I changed things, rearranged the furniture, got rid of the framed photos, started eating dinner at the table again, not the couch. I got back to work, actually finished that brewery logo. Then I picked up 2 new clients. For the first time in a while, my hands stopped shaking when I picked up a pencil. Ethan and I stayed in touch. Not close friends, but connected by something few people could understand. He didn't gloat or carry bitterness. He moved on too. Switched jobs. Started dating again. We met for drinks once. No schemes, no anger. Just 2 people who survived the same wreck. As for Marcus, he vanished, blocked Emily, cut ties with Ethan and me. I don't blame him. He was used, same as we were. But unlike us, he'd believed her promises of a fresh start. That kind of hope, when broken, leaves a different kind of scar. One afternoon, a letter arrived. No return address. Inside was a note in Emily's handwriting. I'm sorry, not just for what I did, but for who I became to do it. I don't expect forgiveness. I just needed to say it. There was no check, no request, just those words. I didn't write back. Forgiveness wasn't mine to offer. She'd burned bridges behind her, then realized there was no way back. But I didn't hate her. I didn't feel much at all, except relief. I started taking walks again, something I hadn't done since the beginning of the collapse. I rediscovered pieces of myself I'd forgotten existed. I listened to music I used to love, read books I'd been putting off, and slowly I stopped thinking about the night she said Ethan. I stopped wondering what she was doing, or if she ever thought about me. That was the final victory. Not revenge, not exposing her lies, just peace. One evening I walked by the cafe on Halsted Street, the one where we set the trap. I paused outside thinking about that day, how I watched her crumble under the weight of her own deception. Not with pride, not with shame, just with a sense of finality. A decade of memories in that cafe held the one that set me free. I went inside, ordered a coffee, and sat by the window. Alone but not lonely. That's what recovery looked like. Not fireworks or breakthroughs, just a man drinking coffee, no longer waiting for someone who was never coming back. Emily once said she felt like she couldn't breathe, like our marriage was a cage, but she never realized. She held the key the whole time, and instead of unlocking the door, she burned the house down. In the end, we all survived, but only some of us grew. Ethan reclaimed his life. Marcus escaped the illusion. I rebuilt what mattered. Emily? She vanished into the silence she chose.